Hi, welcome to Part of My Friendship. This is me, 143. If you don't have a friend, you have one now. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are here, it is Tuesday. It is Pet Loss Tuesday. Welcome if you are new. Hello, Violet and Dave are here already. Yay! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good, good, good. Hello. I gotta fix myself here. I'm a little disheveled, I think. So, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to Pet Loss Tuesday. We did not have one last week, unfortunately. Hello, moderator. Beautiful moderators on. Hello, hello, hello. So we did not have our show last week, so we're kind of going to be doubling up on some information this week. I had a lot of good stuff planned, so I really wanted to make sure that I got it all on today. So, hello, hello, hello. Hey, Erin. Hi, welcome, 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 welcome. And congratulations, Erin has a book on Amazon right now. Selling on Amazon, right? It's selling on Amazon right now, right? I thought that that's what Kim told me. But yeah, Erin has a book on Amazon right now. And perfect, perfect, perfect. Erin, put the name of the book, and if you have the link for it, stick it in the chat. That way people can go and find it as well. So yeah, Erin is part of a group or has an organization, and it all revolves around his beautiful pup that he lost, Angel. And it's called In the Quiet. He does some wonderful, wonderful things. He's going to put a link to where his book is selling on Amazon. And also, again, he's got some great Facebook pages and just some great stuff on his website. So check that out. We can also put it in the links after the show as well. So, but good. Glad everybody's here. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Yay, yay, yay. Oh, Patty's here. Patty showed up. Yay. Welcome, Patty. Patty. Oh, yep. It definitely. It's, again, it's such an accomplishment. I have two books out there currently, Peaceful Pause and Definition of Unconditional Love. And I know how hard it is to write things and put all your heart into it and get it out there. Hey, Michelle's here too. Michelle here, and Bubba's here too. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. And so it's a huge accomplishment when you can do things like that, especially, like I said, Erin and I are kind of aligned in, what, he's doing and what I do here. And so again, and it all stems from, a loss, or, all these are my losses. But, if it wasn't for these beautiful souls that came into my life, none of this would probably be going on. So I'm very, very thankful for the blessings that they all gave me. And, the best thing I can do is carry on their legacy of unconditional love and just help other people who are going through a grieving process. And also, again, the biggest thing is trying to, make pet loss and grief socially acceptable, more than it is right now. So, yep, we will have a Violet update. Yes, we do have a Violet update. Let's jump in that. So, yeah, as we know, Violet had a molar removed. This was her right when she got out of surgery. This was now Violet, for those of you who don't know, Violet belongs to Dave and Patty in the Chicago area. So this is right when she had gotten her, right after her surgery, when she came home. This is little Violet, God love her. And because I hate those cones, I absolutely hate the cone of shame, as they call them. I went ahead and I sent Violet the more comfortable version of the pet cone. Right. Yeah, the cone of shame. But I went ahead and I sent them the more comfortable version of the cone for dogs. And what it is, it's, damn it, I should have grabbed the one that I have for when Lola had to wear a cone. It's like, I'll show you what I got, Violet. But basically it's like a donut, and hers looked like a sprinkled donut. So what I'll show you here is, so this is the this is the new comfortable, it's like comfortable cone, right? And so it's like it's soft. It's, they can sleep with it. It's easier for them to eat. And it's still, again, it's nice. You can adjust it. It inflates. These are just like, I love these things, right? Um, and they have all different, sizes, colors, shapes. They make, they make them funny. And, but yeah, so Violet is in her new cone. And, again, just, it's more comfortable for them to sleep in and, eat. And I mean, again, these things, you got the round sphere thing that, they try to eat. And then I remember when Lola had hers on, of course, Lola is a big dog. So, she had a huge cone. And so she would walk through doorways and she'd snag herself on the door. She would try to put her food down in the food bowl and she couldn't quite make it. It just became a whole hot mess. And at that time, uh, Lola she had like her one ear. This was something interesting too. I'd never run into this before. But Lola, she had gone through kind of a stint where she was having some ear infections. And with that, she would shake her head a lot, and she would shake her head while her one little floppy ear started like filling up with blood and everything. And they call it, it's like a hematoma. And what had happened was, we had to, I had to take her to, the vet, and they had to like basically lance it and drain it. Well, because of that, she had to have the cone. And again, it was just, I get their purpose, and so forth. And like I was saying, because of her ear like draining, it was just gross. Anyways, but I mean, there was all sorts of bad things in that cone. So I had to go with more of a option like I got Violet, which is just more of the comfort cone, and she was just able to sleep better. And she still she still is she's healing well. So thank God Violet is healing well. Now I will say that I did receive a message from Dave and Patty, who said that they were they were afraid that when they took a walk or went outside or went to the store or something, that Violet was going to get picked on or bullied for her little cone. And so they decided to get matching ones. So Dave and Patty and Violet, this is Dave and Patty with Violet with their matching cones so that their dog didn't feel left out. And but they, they're having fun with it. But so they didn't want to make their baby feel like she was, left out. So, so they have their matching cones on so that she feels good. But yeah, so anyway, so Violet is doing fabulous and she's healing well. We just hit Wednesday was week. Well, no, I guess tomorrow would be. She had surgery on Wednesday, so tomorrow is going to be one whole week. 1 whole week, and then she is, then she can start, on more of a roll. But she's eating and drinking, and everything is great. So that is what we always like to hear, and that's the most important. So it's kind of funny because looking at my empty couch. Rosie's across the room now. She normally sleeps here. Rosie, come here. Rosie's normally up here with me, and as you guys know, the past couple episodes, come here, say hi. Come here. You could go get in a minute. The past couple episodes, Coco has been. So here's Rosie. Say hello. So the past couple episodes, little Coco has had to be taken out because like I said, for some reason, Coco was just just getting into so much stuff down here and tearing stuff up and and so she, the co-producer had to come down, and I called him the dungeon master, would have to come down and remove her from the studio. So anyway, so what I decided to do was get him these busy bones, And so that way they have something to chew on when they're down here. Well, now Rosie's fine. Rosie's was laying on the thing over there. Hasn't really touched her bone, but Coco, who loves being down here, takes her bone and runs upstairs with it. So anyway, so that's why we're not seeing Coco anywhere, because she's running upstairs and eating her bone. And what's wrong with you? You tired today? Somebody's sleepy today. Somebody's sleepy today. You're sleepy today. I think so. But anyway, so yeah, so I've got, like I said, Rosie will probably camp out with me today, but I can't find a happy medium. They either come down here and they're like, destructive, or, one runs upstairs, one, is just, again. So I've got, star number one is going to hang out with me and probably sleep here on the couch. But anyway, so moving on. Another fun thing that, we've got, again, it looks like it's going to rain today. We've had like 90% chance of rain today, which kind of started on and off, which was, but still it's like wanting to rain, but not so much. And, but the weather's just been crazy. I got a few of, I normally in the spring, I'll get flowers and stuff, and I'll, you go to Lowe's or wherever and get flowers, and, you just plant the flowers and whatever. It's typically what I do. Now, I thought, well, I'm going to be one of those people that, pretends to be a gardener. And I had gotten some, window boxes and so forth. And I'm like, I'll just plant my own flowers this year. That'll be fun, right? So I had everything lined up outside today, and I'm putting the dirt in there. The girls are like seeing what's going on. And I have a deck, and then on the side of my deck, I have a small, like, sectioned off garden area. And I had planted bulbs, these beautiful tiger lily bulbs, in these pots, along with this rose bush thing. And I had that on the deck, and I'm like, okay, let me move on over to the little garden. And so I'm in the garden, and girls can't get in the garden because of the way it's roped off, which is good, because that's normally, I've got to plant my pumpkins, and pumpkins grow all over the place. And anyways, they would be a mess in there. So I've got the window box, which I was filling up with dirt and all that stuff. And I'm trying to rearrange where I'm going to put the seeds and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I hear it. And when things get a little too quiet, and especially it's like with kids and so forth, when something's too quiet, something's wrong, right? So I was like, where are they? What are they doing? So I happened to look, because we have a little like bush thing in my garden. I happened to look around the side of the bush, and there's yin and yang. There's Rosie and Coco have two of the pots that I just planted bulbs in knocked over, and they're sitting there trying to snag the bulbs out of the pot that I just planted. So I had to jump out of the garden, go run after them. Coco's running with a stupid, flower bulb in her mouth. Looks ridiculous. And, and so, I'm like, okay, so, I got everything back in the pots and, all that stuff. And I put it over to the side. Well, one thing about Coco is like what I'd like to, I want to eventually, probably in a year, because I want her whole neck and stuff to completely heal all the way. But Coco is like an agility dog. She is one that will run and jump. We have, dog gates and so forth in the house, kind of to separate rooms at times. And I will walk into, like, say my son's room has a dog gate up, because Lord knows what he drops on the floor all the time. I can't have the dogs in there. And so anyways, I will go into my son's room. The gate will be up. 2 seconds later, Coco will be jumping over that gate into the room with me. And she leaps like a gazelle. Um, and it's absolutely amazing, which is why I love to get her in agility, even though she's deaf. I mean, she's very good with, watching me. I've taken Rosie used to be in obedience school. So I've learned a lot from them from when we were in obedience school together. And you know, Coco's deaf, but she is very attached to me, and she watches everything I do. So, when I talk to her or if I tell her to come or whatever, she watches me and she can, she knows what I'm doing. I signal to her and she comes. And so I think that I'm not going to lie. I think she would be an amazing agility dog, like doing agility things. And, so, and then on top of her, her little doggy disability of being deaf, there's an organization in the Columbus area, and they work with, now they're mostly those Australian Shepherds, little dogs. But a lot of those do agility and they are deaf. Some are blind, which amazes the hell out of me. And I've seen it though. I've seen these blind dogs run these agility courses, and they're trained so well to know the path and what is ahead of them. Because they train them so well, and to see these dogs go through, and they're blind, they're deaf, and it's amazing. It's amazing at what they can accomplish. So I think when I get to the point where I get Coco involved in that, I'll probably just take her to an organization like that where they understand more deaf dogs and how to signal and all that, because I think she would just be amazing. Now, the caveat on being, in agility with your dog is you also have to run alongside with them. So, which means that I have to get my cardio up. And so, I mean, you've seen those people with, on agility courses, they are running and those dogs are running. And so it's one thing. So it's probably going to take me a year or two to get in shape to be able to run next to the damn dog, because she is, she is fast. So, so that's, it'll be good for her and good for me. Right. Everybody needs a little extra fitness. So anyways, one of the things that we did this past week, it was really cool. And I think I got more excited than anything. I think in Frenchy Friday, I mentioned that Saturday we were going to the circus, and the circus is completely changed from the circus that I grew up with. Especially we went to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Now I had seen that, gosh, when I was years and years ago as a kid. And of course, at that time they had the animals and they had, all sorts of things, right? Well, not that way anymore because of, PETA stepped in and so forth. And they, no more animals in Barnum and Bailey Circus. All of it now is acrobats, tightrope walking. And don't get me wrong, I had a great time. The moderator, not so much. She was kind of stuck on the old circus, which I do. Well, hello, hi, welcome. I do. I love the old circus, and I like the new circus. To me, anytime you're out with your family, enjoying a good time and laughing and having a good time, that's a huge benefit. So, but why I'm talking about the circus, they don't have animals, but they did have, and I thought this was the coolest damn thing, they have a robotic dog. So have you, I don't know if you've been on the internet and you've seen how, all these new robots are coming. They have the people robots, but then they have this dog robot. And I mean, I was enamored with this dog robot. And I mean, it was the coolest thing. It was cool and it was creepy all at the same time, because it walked like a damn dog. And I mean, like I said, it in a way, it kind of creeped you out the way that you looked at it. But I ended up taking a picture of it because I wanted to show you guys what it looked like. So this is the robot dog. And I mean, it's fairly like a medium-sized dog, and its little eyes move and so forth, and it walks and it stands up on its hind legs, and um, but it was like, to me, it was like the coolest darn thing, uh, to see this little robot dog, and to think that, geez, what does the future hold, right? I mean, I hope to God that people don't resort to getting robot dogs instead of real dogs by any means, especially because robot dogs, I mean, I can't imagine how pricey they are. But I mean, we've got so many dogs out there that needs. It's just not the same as a real dog. Let's face it. you Robot dogs or not. I mean, it's not going to be this. It might be low maintenance, but it'll never replace a dog. Unlike some of our modern technology is, replacing jobs and so forth. This will never, replace an actual dog unless you really have people that are highly allergic to dogs. Maybe, who knows? I wouldn't buy one. I thought it was, cool, and really just, I've never seen anything like it before. Like, especially in real life, you see things on the internet, but like in seeing things in real life, it's definitely something. So anyways, so that is my stint on the robot dog. Oh, let's see here. Also wanted to say shout out, happy birthday to the moderator, not the moderator. Her birthday's in July. To the co-producer, we've got his birthday is today, so happy birthday, co-producer. It is Cinco de Mayo, and also birthday. So happy birthday. The one that always comes down and steals the dogs when they get in trouble, and tells me about my lighting and sets up my studio and everything else for me. So, and I had to bring in Wrinkles undercover because he did not want that. He did not think that would go with the set. But as you can see, she's still here. So anyway, so happy birthday to the co-producer. Happy birthday. Let's see, what else? So a couple things I want to get into. I'm going to jump into this because this is one of the things this is one of the topics that I was going to talk about last Tuesday. And I didn't get a chance to because of the whole situation. But I thought that this was the coolest thing. And where's my papers on it? So we always talk about, so kind of getting backtrack on pet loss and grief, since it was Pet Loss Tuesday. Pet loss is nothing that's new. It's been affecting, people for a long time. And I think sometimes, I think sometimes that, I can't think past when, I was a kid, and why would I? I wasn't born in the 30s. I was born in the 70s. But you don't think about like the people before you and all that sometimes. And so I wanted to do some research as to like how far back has it been noted with regards to, people and their pet memorials. And I uncovered and went down this huge rabbit hole of some really, really interesting things. And so I wanted to share this with you today. So the very, very first memorial or any kind of inclination that there was pets and, that pet and human bond, the very first discovery, it says discovered in early 1914 in Germany. There was a double burial site was analyzed by a team of archaeologists, and it was around 7.5 months old at death. Okay, so the dog it's two people. I'll show you a picture. So this is what they uncovered. Okay, and this is so prehistoric evidence. This is more than 14,000 years ago. But they discovered this in 1914. one of the earliest indicators of animal companionship and grief come out of a burial site in Germany, dating approximately 14,000 years ago. It contains the remains of 2 humans buried carefully alongside their dog, suggesting emotional bond and shared burial rights rather than like just a huge like humanitarian. So like the dog is, oh, geez Louise, the dog is over here, but they kind of blew it up for you down here so that you would kind of see what was going on. And then of course the man and woman is there. And it says the dog is 14,000 years old, and it was around 7.5 months old at the time of its death. And whose skeletal remains were found buried alongside of 2 humans in Germany. It says they did pathology on the dog. On the remains indicated the dog was ill and would not have been able to live without its humans. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting, right? And I dove a little bit deeper into that. And I was like, okay, let's see, what was it saying here? Because I have it. Okay, so at first they thought that it says the dog's lower jaw was first thought to be that of a wolf. And it was placed in museum storage with the human remains, while the dog's other bones were sent to another university for review. Let's see, the bones with the dog and the people were reunited in the 1970s and re-identified as a domestic dog. So at first they thought it was just a wolf, and then they realized it was a domestic dog. So their dog. And let's see here. Let's see. So they are saying 14,000 BP, total of 32 identified bone fragments have been attributed to the dog. Then have been used to, and these have been used to estimate a number of the animal's characteristics, which that's how they figured out it was a domesticated dog. Let's see, it says they looked at the teeth and the gums, and that indicated that the dog survived a canine distemper infection as a puppy. And then due to the likelihood of death without assistance, the puppy's survival was probably due to human care, such care would have involved providing food and water, as well as frequent cleaning. Extensive human care suggests significant companions towards the dog, probably indicating that the dog was seen as a pet. And it's saying, it says it's unknown how the dog died. It may have been due to the effects of the illness or other natural causes. But I mean, to me, it's like, how neat is that, right? So, I mean, that's over 14,000 years ago. People had the people and bond between their pets, and enough so, or their domesticated animals, and enough so that they were buried with them. So, and here we are in 2026, and we're still struggling with the, trying to navigate pet loss and grief. And again, one of my things is, I want to make it as normal as possible. I want to break the society norms of it. But, so what does that tell you? I mean, this isn't anything new, but we feel like it is, right? Especially when we're going through it, we feel like it. So I really thought that was cool. Really. And that was the very first one that they found. Okay. So if we go to the first one, and then let me flip over here, my second thing. Now, the second ones that they found, yeah, right. Well, I mean, there's like 4 of them total. So bear with me on this, right? So the second one was found 2,000-year-old pet cemetery discovered in Egypt. So that's what it looks like. Now, granted, these crosses and stuff, the archaeologists put this up. put these crosses and they started marking them because at the time it was just, it's just kind of like a flat land, but then they started digging and then they started finding all these dog remains, and cats and so forth. It said originally founded in 2011. It took scientists over a decade to figure out exactly why over 600 animals were discovered buried in a specific pits to now have, and so they came to the conclusion that it was the oldest pet cemetery for house kept pets. So, and then again, as they started uncovering the pets, they started marking them and putting nice things on there. But it says ancient Egypt as early as 3000 BCE. The earliest known pet cemeteries in the formal sense appear in ancient Egypt, where animals, especially dogs, cats, and monkeys, were buried with care, sometimes accompanied by collars, toys, textiles, or food offerings. Pets were mummified or buried individually. Entire cemeteries dedicated to animals have been discovered. These burials reflect grief and remembrance, not sacrifice, which is huge. I mean, two totally different things, right? And I would think too, as well, as if they're sacrificing animals, they're not going to bury them, right? And they're not going to like bury them with care of mummifying them and putting toys and stuff with them. They would just probably discard them, as my thought. Let's see. It says the most famous example is that it's in Egypt. It's the Bernice Pet Cemetery during the 1st and 2nd century, containing 580 pets buried with evidence of care and affection. Scholars consider it among the oldest true pet cemeteries in the world. And now, unfortunately, I'm going to try to put this up to the camera. You can see this is another burial that they found in that same pet cemetery, and it has a person and their pet. So here's the body of the person, their skeleton, and their pet. So I'm trying to. My printer was acting up, so I apologize. But yeah. So I thought that was in Egypt, which is really, again, that over as early as 3000 BCE. So just very, 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 very interesting. So let's see. Here is the. That's the second one. Let me go to the third one. All right. So the first modern pet memorials was in the Victorian era, 19th century. The modern concept of a pet memorial, pet cemetery emerges clearly during the Victorian period, when pets were increasingly viewed as family members, which I think we see that in a lot of our shows. And, even, I know you watch Bridgerton, you watch some of these other shows from, you got the Victorian era. A lot of them have dogs and cats and so forth, right? So Hyde Park Cemetery, located in London, was one of the most modern ones. In 1881, began with the burial of a Maltese dog named Cherry. In 1881, became the first known urban pet cemetery. It included headstones with names, dates, and emotional sayings on them. Widely considered the first modern pet memorial ground. So, and here's what that looks like. And it's rather small. And this is, again, my stupid printer is back there. But this is, it says the dog's name was Dolly, and it says Darling Dolly. He was a police dog. So there's a policeman with his police dog, and so it's got like the headstone here. It says Darling Dolly, and it has the date of date that they were born and the date that they passed. But this is just a very little, pet cemetery there in London, all the way back from 1881, and just again amazing, right? And then the last one, fourth one, let me pull this out real quick. So the fourth one that I came across was established in 1896 in New York. It's United States in the United States, Hartsdale Pet Cemetery, again, founded in 1896, still to this day, has people bury their pets there. And it is rather big. As you can see here, this is in New York. And I mean, it's, if you Google it, if you Google any of this, it's a very big cemetery. And, that's that was the, what do you call it? But that's, one of the headstones there. And it says on there, dedicated to the memory of a war dog. So, and it shows that it was in, the dog was in looks like the First World War. But so there's a, dedicated there. And then, and this isn't also in the Hartsdale. There's these. And again, you could see like this first one, these are from 1929, 1942. You could just see like the amount of love that people put into, the headstones. And, it's just, again, like all this stuff really fascinated me because I think sometimes we get caught up in, thinking that we're alone here. And that one's I found a little French bulldog. But, this is the amount of love that people put in, right? And, if anything, people that do things like this, they go through what we're going through. And, I always say that there's, it's bad going through certain things, but then there's comfort in numbers, right? There's always comfort in knowing, that there's other people out there that get what you're going through. And that's why I always say, like, my tagline is, if you don't have a friend, you have one now, because it's lonely. Pet loss and grief is a very, very lonely place. And, when you're going through it, it feels like nobody else gets you, nobody else understands. And, there's centuries when you sit there and uncover it, there's centuries of people, thousands of years of people that, loved and had these bonds with these beautiful creatures. And, they were going through the same thing that we go through. So, and then of course, this is one of my favorite sayings. I will put it here. Every dead body on Mount Everest was once a highly motivated person. So maybe calm down. I actually have this hanging up in my cube at work. It just, it reminds you to slow down sometimes in life. But anyway, so I really, again, I wanted to talk about that, today, because again, it is Pet Loss Tuesday, right? And, oh, you're welcome, Erin. That's, like I said, it is Pet Loss Tuesday, and I wanted to share that. And for the second part of the show, I'm going to get into something that was brought to me this past week, and I kind of hem-hawed around with sharing it. But I'm not going to, of course, name any names or anything, because the name part isn't important. The message part is what is important. And the more I toyed around in my mind with if I wanted to discuss this topic, the more I thought that I had to. And the reason why I have to is because I think that, especially in our society nowadays, more people are taking control of their mental health. And I think that that's a wonderful thing. A lot of people before us, didn't really, we didn't really do that. You just kind of dealt with issues, right? And so now, going to therapists, seeking treatment is very, very socially accepting. And it should be because, there's, again, if there's no pet loss support groups, you're alone. If there's no regular, mental health places, for people that may have something higher, schizophrenia, something like that, they need help. People need help. And now, again, that part is now so socially acceptable. It's great. It's actually a positive thing. So enough rambling about that. Um, so what was brought to me was um, a an acquaintance of mine. I'll just say very very good friend of mine. She has a teenage son that is going through some serious emotional things, which if anybody knows teenagers like I do, they go through a lot. I mean, hell, we've all been teenagers. We remember the trials and tribulations of things at that age, and you got hormones going and all sorts of things going on, um, and unfortunately uh, her son wasn't just having kind of a minor mental crisis. He's having a little bit more mental crisis where he is in um, a hospital facility right now being treated, which again, absolutely, there's and that's not unusual nowadays. Where if you need more extensive help, you go and you get treatment. And sometimes I think the best thing to do is go to a place where you're there 24/7 and you can focus on you and you can focus on getting yourself together. You can tune out the outside world, put down the garbage. Um, yeah, exactly. Help is more available and you should take care of it if you need it. But so that's what so anyway, so she had contacted me because she's again going through the situation, and her son is going through a lot of emotional and very very serious um, mental um, mental stuff. And so you know she contacted me because the process, he's been away now for 2 weeks, and in during that time, and her son's like 16, right? um oh I'm so sorry. Welcome. I am so sorry. I'm sorry to hear about your Bella. um Very very sorry. And you know what, you're saying that you lost her a few months ago and you can't get past it. um you're not it's My thing is this is like, you we say about getting past it, but we're not. You're gonna heal with it. You're gonna heal with going through the grief process, right? um you're always gonna have it. You're always gonna have the memories and the situation, but with time it's gonna be easier. It's gonna be easier to um go through your day and not cry. It's going to be easier to you know talk about beautiful stories. And I will tell you this: when you get to the point where you can, the more that you can tell stories about her, um, the more you heal. I've got my again my ones here, right? I hate that glare. My ones here, and they still they still hurt sometimes. They still, and that's, some of those have been like over 12 years ago now. And which is a long time, right? But you it's weird. Pet loss and grief is weird in the sense that, and I say that because I think as humans, we're like, when am I going to come to the day when I feel better, right? Everybody wants to feel better mentally. Everybody wants to get to that point where there's no maybe tears anymore or whatever. But then I think part of us feels guilty, or they think that, or you think that, hey, if I'm happy now, or if I'm moving on a little bit in my mental state with it, that we're doing a disservice to the ones that we lost, right? And so I always said that sometimes it's better to, in my opinion, sometimes it's better to hurt your heart. I always say I broke my own heart. That's what my family knows when I get to the point where I get ready to cry, I'll go, oh, I hurt my own feelings. I hurt my own heart. Um, but I think it's sometimes you, it reminds you that it just reminds you of all the love. And I would rather have those moments of where I hurt, because I know that had I not had that, dog or cat or whatever in my life, I wouldn't have that beautiful moment. I wouldn't have a beautiful moment of remembering good times. And I had some great years and wonderful memories of Christmas, and you know of course Thanksgiving, making a big Thanksgiving turkey, and like all the dogs lined up. They they were little pilgrims too, right? Waiting to get Thanksgiving dinner. And they're a part of our lives. And so what we have to do is, when we lose them, we have to, you know yeah, now yeah, I know, right now they're underneath our feet, right? Which we're not even going to talk about it, these two. Oh, when cooking for Thanksgiving, I know they do that. They sit there and get under there. But um that's where you just you want to get to the point where um it's just you look at your loss as part of your journey in your life. And yeah, Dave is right. Feeling hurt is normal. Healing is remembering the good time. Absolutely, absolutely. And I've got, and I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you have some wonderful stories with Bella. Um, I've got great stories of some goofy times with my dogs. And just when them doing silly things. Or I remember one time my one dog ran out my front door. And he was like my it was this one it was this guy right here. I remember him running out my front door, and um going into the running right into the street. And I saw a truck coming, like a pickup truck. And I didn't even think twice. I ran like right in the street, to make sure that he wasn't going to get hit, not even caring if I got hit by a damn pickup truck. How stupid is that? But like, I don't think I could have lived with myself if I if I had seen my dog get um you know hurt. um you know what? Michelle says, we lost my neighbor's dog, not even my dog, and we miss them so much. Yeah, and there's a is now, Michelle, is that the ones that you were talking about? Were they the pitties that live next door? Um, but that too, like when you're dog people or cat people or animal people in general, um, you get attached. You bond with other pet owners, right? You get attached. And and so when they lose, it's like you lost something too. Because yeah, it's just like I said, it's oh, three of them. Oh, yeah, that is just so. And I printed this off last week too. It's a we always go through the different stages of grief, the 7 stages of grief, right? But there's also it's you can consolidate it into the 3 C's of grief. The first C is choice. How you respond to a loss over time is your choice, right? Um, because we have control over our emotions, but it's our choice and how we respond to it. The second C is connection, making sure that you lean on others, that you don't grieve alone, that you find places like this where people understand you. That is, oh, yeah. Well, you're like I said, you're when you come here on Pet Loss Tuesday or even Frenchy Friday, anybody that shows up here, you're now family. You are now family, and you're one of us. We've all been there, and that's the one thing that bonds us together, right? Across the miles. I'm in the United States. Michelle's in New Zealand, Aaron's in Canada. I mean, we've got people from all over the place. And one topic bonds everybody together. So Aaron said that he started a Facebook group after Angel passed on January 27th. And I'll be honest, Aaron, that's how I felt. Like, I saw you on one of the sites. Oh, your site has grown. Wow. Right. At 1,500 because there's other people like you. But Aaron, you're when I saw you post on one of the Facebook sites, and it was just a regular post, and I think that's the one thing that like drew me to your page was like I kept seeing you put like updates, like it's been like 36 days or yes, please, yeah, go Aaron, go to Aaron's Facebook page. It's called In the Quiet, if you look it up on Facebook. So, and it's great. It's a great page, and it's a great community. So, oh gosh, you're not stealing the spotlight at all. No, that's what this is for, right? But absolutely, please go over there and join the page. He's got a wonderful community of people over there as well that are very, very supportive. Absolutely. No, you're always more than welcome. And then the last C is compassion. So you've got choice. How do you respond to loss over time? Connection, leaning on others. Don't grieve alone. And then compassion. Be gentle on yourself. Take care of yourself. Again, have people that love you, advocate for you if you're going through a rough day. And, that's the most important thing is to take care of yourself. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to talk to, people that you trust, but be kind to yourself. And always, again, we can't change the past. We can't change what happened. We can't, when a loss occurs, we can't, rewind time, right? We just have to accept what has happened and, come to peace with it in our minds. And, that's the most important thing. So kind of to gear back to the story with my friend and her son. So he's been in the hospital now for 2 weeks, under, great care. And so my friend said that during that 2 weeks that he's been gone, his dog has died. And this is a dog that, he had an extremely close bond with. It was just like his baby, just like any of our pets, right? And she said, she's like, I just don't know what to do. What, and I told her, I said, well, first and foremost, yeah, I know that threw me for a loop too. I said, well, first and foremost, you have to realize that, his pet has passed. The time that the pet has passed, or the date that the pet passed, is not important at this point. Right now, her son's mental health is important. So depending on where he is in his therapy, I first and foremost told her that when they do tell him about the passing of his pet or his dog, definitely because of his current mental state, a trained psychologist, therapist should be the one doing it. Absolutely. I would not leave that to anybody to give that news to. They'll know how to navigate it, hopefully, because a lot of times, I hate to say it, our therapists are more people therapists than they are pet therapists. But I did suggest that when they do decide to tell him, which, again, depending on where he is in his current mental state, this may not be the right time to tell him. He may need to get to a more healthier state and then tell him, because like I said, it doesn't matter the date that the pet passed. And she was all concerned, like, time goes by. And I said, that's not what matters right now. Right now is mental health matters. And if you spring this on him when he's in the middle of a crisis situation, he's going to backpedal. And it's not going to do any good. He's going to backpedal. And we don't need that. I mean, because losing, a pet is especially something as close as, it was like your baby and this and that. We know that how hard it is when you're not going through a mental crisis. And so if you take a mental crisis and you add to that, it's not good. And like I told her too, I said, with where he's at, he's going to latch on to grief and anger in our stages of grief. And, because he's a teenager, what's it going to be? He's in the hospital, his pet dies. Who is he going to blame? Even though it was nobody's fault. The pet just unfortunately got ill and passed. So it was nobody's fault. But when you have somebody that's not in the right mental state, they're going to latch on to anger and grief, or anger and they're going to point the finger at the very first person that is probably the closest to him, which is going to be mom, right? Because he's, going through, stuff with mom. And so I said, when it comes time to tell him what is going on, I would suggest either you or somebody else in your family, if you could both be there when they tell him, because, the therapist is going to the therapist psychologist is only going to tell you, tell them what what they know, right? Mom or another family member is going to have the details. And when you give somebody the news like that their pet is passed, without being able to ask questions, especially detailed questions, how, when, where, why, it's going to do nothing but have him drum up things in his mind and conclusions to things that are not true. And again, could have him spiraling backwards. So I think if as long as a therapist and a family member, either her or somebody else in the family that he trusts and loves, are there to explain things all at the same time, that can bring him to a healthy way in the grieving process. Now, she did say that she didn't know what to do with the dog's stuff in the house. I guess in his room he had the dog's crate. I recommended moving the crate out of the room, and I will be 100% honest with you. When people do lose pets and so forth, I tell them not to move anything until they're ready to. You don't have to move bowls. You don't have to move leashes. You don't have to move anything until you're ready to. And do not let people pressure you into it. Do not let people shame you into it. Well, why do you still have that down? I have a friend that lost her dog 10 years ago. She still has a room that was like her office or whatever, that has all the toys in there, basically the way the dog left them. And she doesn't want to move them, and she doesn't have to. It's her house. Who the hell cares? You do what you want to do. And it's not unhealthy. That's her memorial. But I did suggest it in this case, because I didn't want him coming home to an empty crate in his room, because I think that's a lot of emotional. That's just a lot, especially for a young person. And I said I would replace the crate with more of a memorial. I said, he's going through an anger stage right now. Put something in its place. Go print out pictures. Do like a memorial. Get little statues. Get something that you could put in its place. And, so that when he does come home, yeah, he's going to know, but he's also going to know that everybody else in the family cared enough to put something together. And it's more comforting. I said, now don't move anything else. You can keep everything else there. I said, but put something in its place so that when he comes home and he's in that room where he always had that dog, and he's got a spot where now he's got a whole thing, and you could put extra stuff there if he wants to make a journal, if he wants to, just put up extra things there. Make a special spot that would be his, but also a special spot where he will know that the family also love the dog dearly, which they do. It's their family dog. But again, when you're young and you're going through things, and again, he's a teenager, they fight with their parents, it happens, right? And no matter what, it's going to be mom's fault or somebody in the house's fault, and that's and we know that's not true. It wasn't anybody's fault, but if he can have all of his questions answered, come home to a loving spot where he's got these wonderful memories and this beautiful display, it makes things a lot easier. And granted, it's going to take, this is adding to what else he's currently going through. But as I told her as well, it doesn't matter when the pet passed. What matters is how he is, where he's at in his mental state. And once he gets to a better place, that's when you tell him. And it's not going to be, why didn't you tell me a month ago or 2 months ago? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And that's, I think, what she was worried about. She's worried about, like, why I need to tell him right away. You don't need to tell him right away. He needs to get healthy right away. Or not right away, but he needs to get healthy first. And then once he gets to more of a healthy mental state, he can then start processing this other grief part in a healthy mental state. And again, it, paired with therapy and everything else, it should be a very successful outcome. But I told her, I said, don't do it without a therapist, especially again with the great degree that he's in. And and I know I've said this, several times, kids and young adults, under the age of 18, they grieve totally different than like a regular adult does. Sometimes it's easy on them and sometimes it's not. And you really have to just be careful. You have to be careful on how you explain things, how you do things. And, again, a lot of times, especially if a child is younger, they don't quite get it. And I think sometimes, if a parent's grieving a lot, they kind of get upset at their kids, like, why aren't they grieving? But again, kids, and kids in the family take it all differently. Some may grieve, harder than others. And so you just kind of have to meet your kids where they are and work with them. And, and then not in the process, because you're also dealing with death. So not in the process, you don't want to scare them either, because of course, death is a part of life. We're all going to have to go through it. Our animals are going to go through it. It doesn't make it easier, but you also don't want to scare kids into, thinking that they're going to die tomorrow, that, when they go to sleep at night, because a lot of people will say, oh, they always use the term, we put them to sleep. When you do euthanasia, we put them to sleep, which is, that's just a nicer, friendlier term, right? But kids can take that as like they went to bed and they never woke up, and now they're going to be afraid that either that's going to happen to them, or that's going to happen to grandma, or that's going to happen to mom or dad, and then they're going to be petrified that, oh my God, they're going to go to sleep and never wake up. So you just kind of have to, or you don't want to say, if the animal is ill, you tell them that the animal is ill, but you also explain that it's not like they had a common cold, because you don't want your children to be afraid every time they get a common cold that they're going to have their demise. And what are you doing? Well, come here. Sorry, my little potato was looking at me. But anyway, so there's a lot to unpack here. But I thought it was important to talk about because, again, with mental health being more on the uprise and people taking their mental health more serious, that it was an important topic to talk about, because we do have more and more people, taking their mental health in check. And there's people that I know that will admit themselves into hospitals, to make sure that they're being taken care of. And I think that's great. If you can identify that you need help and you go and seek that, and even if you have to go away for a few weeks to take care of your mental health, I think that's great. I think it's brave. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think it's brave. And I think that people should be commended for doing that. I'm one of those that, I've got so many things going on in my life that, I always tend to, push everything down, which again, when I first lost my first dog, that's what started this whole thing. I could not wrap my head on what was wrong with me. I kept saying, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Why, it's been months. It's been, and I would just break out in tears, and I'd have all these like PTSD flashbacks and all this stuff. And nobody else in my family was going through it. And I kept thinking, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And then I realized that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. Absolutely nothing wrong with me. What I was going through was 100% normal. And I knew that if I was going through this, then other people were going through this. And that's why this whole thing started. And I never want people to feel like I did, alone and confused and thinking that they got issues, and because you don't. You're perfectly normal. You're perfectly normal. You're perfectly loved. There's tons of people around you that have been traveled down the same journey with you. I've talked to hundreds of people over the past 12 plus years. Heard some amazing stories about some beautiful animals that they've had, and it's just been such a blessing. So, anyways, on that, we are a little bit over our hour. We always will light a candle at the end here. So I've got my candle, and we always just light the candle in honor of all of our pets that have passed. We will add Miss Bella to that tonight. Again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for finding us. If you know anybody else that's going through things like this, please send them on over. Tell them to join the group. We're always more than happy to have everybody here. So our candle is lit for all the ones that we've lost, and all the ones that loved us with unconditionally. They are just, we're blessed. We are very, very blessed. Very, very blessed to have had them in our lives. And even, the ones that are going to be in our future families, we're very, very blessed and very, very lucky. And there's nothing better than that. So again, thank you all for coming by. We got Frenchy Friday, which is just open topic and all sorts of things. And then of course, Tuesday again, pet loss. And yes, Bella, Angel. Then we got, Ginger, Pepper, Cookie, Peanuts, and Jackie, and Buck, and and Sammy, Daisy, Cookie, Sweet Pea. We got them all. On top of the ones that and then how many snails the moderator has already lost. I think there was only 4 of them. But yeah, again, thank you all for stopping by. Please tell anybody you know about the channel, and hit the like button. That helps the algorithm. And again, if you don't have a friend, you have one now. I will see everybody on Friday. I look forward to it. It's 8 p.m. on Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays, and then Tuesdays are still going to stay at the 7 p.m. So it was always a little bit nicer on the have it a little bit later on Friday nights. That way, people can, especially now that the weather's a little nicer, they can enjoy most of their Friday. So, but anyways, I will see you guys on Friday. I will stop rambling. I will see you guys on Friday. Thank you for stopping by. Please like, subscribe, comment, and check out Facebook, Instagram. I've got my Frenchie. This is me 143 Facebook. Same thing with Instagram. I've got a TikTok. I have an X account as well. So just hit me up all over the place. Let's get this thing going. So again, thank you all very much. Have a good rest of your night, and many blessings, everybody. If you are struggling with pet loss and grief right now, know that you have a whole community that has their arms wrapped around you and just giving you a big hug right now, because we get it. We totally get it. So anyways, have a good rest of your night. Oh, and also one last thing. I'll shut up and then I'll shut up. If you have a pet that you'd like to spotlight on the channel, I show pet pictures all the time, as you guys know. If you have a pet that you want to spotlight, send an email. Send their picture in an email with their name and information, and I will spotlight them on the next show. The email address is in the description on the YouTube channel. I don't know if the moderator has it offhand. She can put it in the chat real quick. But just shoot me an email with the picture, and I will post it up I'll have it on the next show. So anyways, but again, good night. I will shut up. And I will see everybody on Friday, Frenchie Friday. So take care. Have a good rest of your night. Bye. See you later. Bye.